4 years ago today, every single left-wing news media organization, from print to cable to national, was telling us sheep that Hillary Clinton is leading Donald Trump by 14 points. And to boot, it was echoed across every single channel. Donald Trump has no path to victory. And they just kept saying it. There is no path to victory. Even if he got this and flipped that and the other thing, he would still come up at 262. There is officially no path to victory. Okay, he won. They're trying to run the same play on us again. It didn't work last time. And it ain't going to work again. There's tons of fake polls out there. And to sort it out for us, my good friend Joe Pinion is with us. He's a GOP strategist. He's going to be joining us every week now, business leader, philanthropist. Joe, these fake polls are killing me. People are coming up to me at my son's baseball game. He's losing bad. He's losing bad.
I mean, polls are indicators. They're not results. I think, obviously, we know, at least in my opinion, it's going to be a tight election. You look in places like Florida, most of the polling that we always see out of Florida favors the Democrats, and the Republicans end up being victorious, whether you're talking about the case of Andrew Gillum in the last gubernatorial race, whether you talk about Senator Nelson and people of that nature. You know, these races in Florida basically are always decided by 30, 60,000 votes. You look to places like Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. You don't really know what's going to happen there, but obviously I think, you know, the media would like Trump supporters to feel dismayed and stay home, in the same way that they hopefully want to have Joe Biden be their next president. But I think the polls are going to surprise a few people on election day.
Yeah, on the first debate, we hosted a little primetime special here on Biz TV to break it down. And we had John McLaughlin on the show. John McLaughlin was Trump's pollster in 2016. And he was saying that many of these polls are, you know, if you read the fine print on the bottom left, they say likely voters. And, you know, there's more registered Democrats than Republicans. So by virtue of, you know, simple number of the law of large numbers, the polls are going to be skewed because there's more Democrats. They don't tell you what they say, likely voters. They don't say Democrat, Republican. And then he said many of them have margin of error of up to 4.5%. So they could be skewed one way and they could be 9% wrong the other way. So somewhere in the middle, that's the silent majority.
Right, absolutely. And we talk about, you know, these quote unquote margin of error. I mean, what's the margin of error for 600 people? I mean, that's not reflective of states that number in the millions. And so I think that we have to be very careful about the takeaways that we take from these polls. Obviously, again, you talk about likely voters. Who is to say what a likely voter is in the midst of a pandemic here in 2020? And so we do know that, you know, there's going to be a swamping of votes that are cast via mail. We don't know exactly who is it deciding to vote via mail. Are they regular voters? Are they new voters? We don't know. But what we do know is that going from 30 million people voting via mail, close to upwards of 80 million people voting via mail, is going to be a recipe for disaster. I truly don't think that we would even be able to determine who the next president of the United States is on election night. It could be weeks, if not over a month. People have to remember that, you know, in the case of Bush Gore, I mean, that went until, I believe, what was it, the second week of December before that was even determined. And that was only one state. And realistically, it was one county in one state. So, yeah, this is going to be a drawn out process. And I think the one thing that we do know is that both campaigns are going to have to fight down to the wire, because otherwise, you know, I think it could be a little tricky for them.
I'm watching this morning the opening salvos in the Amy Coney Barrett hearings. And, you know, Joe, I'm looking at this thing and it's like kabuki theater. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows what the ending is going to be. You know, the damsel in distress is going to get saved by the prince, and they're going to ride off on the white horse. Like, you know, the vote's going to go down. She's going to win. So they're all there just putting on a show for us. And these Democrats are standing there holding up people saying they need their Affordable Care Act. And they're showing pictures of people who died from COVID. None of this has anything to do with the Supreme Court having an empty seat right now. Shouldn't they just ram it down their throat already?
I mean, look, I think that Republicans have to be careful here, because one thing that we do know is that people are emotional creatures first. before they are logical animals. And so I think that if you're talking about what appeals to the American public, there are concerns about pre-existing conditions, and the fact of the matter remains, the only assurance that the American people have that they will be covered is an executive order signed by President Trump, which we know executive orders are not in and of themselves laws or legislation. So I think that we need to be strategic here about saying that yes, there is a constitutional imperative to appoint somebody to the court, but at the same time making sure that we are actually having the American public know that there is going to be a healthcare backdrop there. Now would actually probably be the perfect time for President Trump to roll out a healthcare plan, if he has one, to allay some of those fears by some of those swing voters that we know will be deciding the outcome of this election in places like Minnesota and Michigan and Arizona. So I think it would behoove the administration, if they do actually have a plan, to have that plan come out right now. Because otherwise, it gives Democrats the opportunity and the avenue to do exactly what they're doing right now, saying that this is an administration antithetical to your needs in healthcare. If they had a plan, they would give you one.
Yep, and I think that's one of the shortcomings, if there are to be shortcomings in this administration. It's been tremendous, but they had an opportunity here to at least come out with an alternative plan. They said, well, after the election, we'll have it. And I got to tell you, Joe, I get really ticked off because Joe Biden's saying he's going to tell America what his COVID plan is after the election. He's going to tell America if he's going to pack the court after the election. Everything's going to be after the election. And then they're saying Trump killed 200,000 people. So if Joe Biden has a plan for COVID, why would he be keeping it secret till after the election? Why wouldn't he be saving lives?
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, again, this notion that Democrats have a secret plan to battle COVID is a fallacy. We have to go back to the early days of the COVID crisis, where Governor Cuomo was praising President Trump at every turn, where Governor Newsom was praising President Trump at every turn. Kamala Harris showed up at a debate. The only thing she could apparently remember was the day January 28th. And yet she seems to forget that as late as January 14th, the World Health Organization was telling the world that COVID could not be transmitted from person to person. So I think, again, everything has to be seen in context. The context for COVID is that even the professional opinion of the experts were wildly incorrect. The context of the economy that we face today is that we had 7 million new jobs and higher wages for people from every walk of life in a pre-COVID-19 world, even though Democrats want you to believe that the economy has been where it is today from the day Donald Trump took the oath of office. And so I think, again, particularly in the media, the lack of intellectual integrity being exhibited right now when we talk about these issues that are impacting people's lives is astounding. But I think, again, that's why we have to be able to have these conversations about what's really happening and how people are going to be in a good situation moving forward.
Yeah, it's. I don't think people even believe TV anymore. That's why I'm trying to work my butt off every day to have a platform where we could actually talk about real stuff with real people like Joe Pinion, one of the best in the business. Joey, thank you very much for joining us.
My man, talk soon.